come up today.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if you listened to my audio message earlier, a few hours ago, and I'm outside. And it's windy. I hope the wind isn't interfering.
No, I hear
Um,
you good.
okay, but yeah, today was a it was an emotional day, which is
Mhm.
not very common for me. But I had a few things come up. I had a lot of uh, yeah. So like at work this morning, I had some shame come up in a meeting. It's like a project update meeting, and I like one of the projects that I've been working on that I had like forgotten to follow up on came up in the call, um, and so I was feeling a lot of shame in that moment, like almost brought tears to my eyes. And it's like a Teams call, so like not like anybody knew or anything, but it was just yeah, not something that usually happens like at work where um I feel that shame and notice it in that moment. And um, it kind of got me in now that I'm thinking about it, like looking back, it kind of got me started like in a seeking like loop where I'm
Mm.
just like, it was like uncomfortable. And I was just like this has happened before. Like this is like a frustration of like feeling like I'm not very good at work or just dropping the ball on certain things. And I think it's like I don't know, probably have like self judgments about that. But it really just like got me going. And I was just like, after that, I was just like jumping in my mind from thing to thing, from topic to topic. Um, like um, got on YouTube and like start watching like the usual people, Angelo, ran into Frank Yang, um, and I saw like Pernilla's channel. I've been going through some of her stuff, but didn't turn them on. But anyway, it's just like the seeker was just like, oh, there's a problem. Like I gotta fix it, gotta fix it, gotta fix it. Like something's wrong, gotta fix it. And that pattern just got really strongly activated. And so it was just like just I was just sitting with that. And I ended up having a call with Lisa today. We try to talk once a week, and ended up just talking.
Do you know Lisa from the group or before the group?
Yeah, before the group. Yeah,
Mm.
I've known her for about a year,
Oh, okay.
or a little longer. We did Dan Schmidt's retreat together, like over New Year's, beginning of 2025. That's
Mm.
where I first met her. Um, but anyway, so I was talking to her about it, and she's one of those people that I can be vulnerable with, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of like this stuff starts to come out and like some emotion. And so um, that was good. But then I still was like having like this like jumpy mind syndrome. I was going to diagnose myself, jumpy mind syndrome. And so I also met with my therapist this afternoon. He's a parts therapist. He's really good. And we ended up kind of going into this, and it was a really difficult session. Like it was really hard to land anywhere. You know, all kinds of things like in parts work, like you're looking at individual emotions or uh, named parts of yourself. Like I don't know, like I have a mental pattern that I call the examiner. That's like analyzing. It's very analytical. For example, and it was like all of these different parts and different emotions were just coming up, and I couldn't really like gain my footing or get traction anywhere. And then at the end of the session, um, it finally came up, and this is what I shared in the audio message, um, more or less, like all of like this grief from the dreams that I had for myself growing up were just like, I don't know, anytime in the past. But
Mm.
like, I don't know, like who I imagined myself to be when I got older, like the kind of life that I would have, the person I would be, what I would look like, who I would be with, what I would accomplish, um, how successful, all of this stuff. And the grief of that hit me. And um, yeah, it's coming up again. Just like I wanted my life to be a certain way. I wanted to be a certain person, or I had these aspirations and goals that, you know, I can be, yeah, I can imagine this person and I can be that person. And it seems kind of real, like you can have that fantasy and it feels real. And yeah, it just like hit me finally, all of a sudden, um, that yeah, like that hasn't happened. Like it hasn't turned out that way. My life is uh, completely different, and I'm not sure what my younger self would think of me today. I don't know that I care that much because yeah, my life is what it is. But yeah, it's just like all of that grief of what could have been came up today, and yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, at the beginning, all the way back at the beginning, when you said you were in the meeting and somebody said something to you, or something was said, or you realized you didn't do something you were supposed to do, isn't that what it was? Something like that.
Yeah,
You said you felt shame, and you said you went on a seeking spiral. Why do you think that you did that?
I think I think I have the belief that there's something wrong with me, um, and I think there's probably some like self worth tied up in all of that. Um, that like I need to perform well to be loved, to be accepted, and I lean on other people for that. Um, for that feeling of worth. When I do well and I get a pat on the back, it feels good. But also I know that doesn't work. Like it's like a drug. Like you get that hit and then you got to get another hit because it's not going to last. But but yeah, that's my first thought.
Um, okay, that's awesome talking about the beliefs you're talking about, but I want to be a little more direct with this. Do you think that when that happened, that you when I was seeking a lot like that, and I was having some similar thoughts that you were having, um, I noticed that I didn't want to feel, so I distracted, and that came up in seeking. It also came up in watching movies or going to play, whatever I did. But to me, it sounded like the shame hit you, and you didn't want to feel that, and you wanted to solve it instead. So you went to look at the videos and the books or whatever you did instead of feeling that in that moment, or however whatever the distance was there. From the way you said it, it sounded like that hit you. The shame came up, and then you were like, "Oh, I gotta solve it with
Yeah,
something. I gotta seek something that's going to tell me how to solve that problem."
yeah. Oh
Is that
yeah.
right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So the all the sensations that we had when we were young, they all appeared first, and then thoughts appeared after. Like when you were a baby, you didn't really have thoughts, but you saw forms, shapes, colors, you felt energy, all this stuff. And then you started getting introduced to concepts. And then you started trying to own those concepts with an I thought that says, this is mine. But the emotions that come up, like shame, they are reality expressing themselves as that emotion. So if there's a part of you in thought that rejects that, you are literally rejecting enlightenment. You're rejecting reality. You're rejecting what you are. So that running, that distraction, which I did for many, many years, is emotional repression. So I would say the very first thing to deal with that is when you see the expression of that energy, of that emotional energy come up, to try not to let the interpretation take you away and to stay right there where the gap starts, where the emotion shows up before you start to react, and then allow yourself to feel that energy, that emotion, and drop the labels as best you can and get into the sensation right then, especially when it comes up really strong, because that's the time it really wants to be processed. So if you feel that when you're first working with the stuff, the knee jerk grabbiness of an emotion can either feel like a grab or it can feel overwhelming, like a tidal wave of energy of emotion, and you're just like, oh, and it's just like life contracts, and you feel like I got to get out of this. I got to fit. I can't deal with this. And then my one thought that I had that was a time thought was, I'm going to feel like this forever now. This is my life. This emotion is my life now, and it's never going to pass. It's like it was almost like a real quick, grabby, instinctual, afraid of that this is going to last forever. But it was a thought that I was believing that said this is going to last forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Like in that moment, you know, in a meeting at work, uh, yeah, there's like other stuff. Like when like I experience an emotion and it feels powerful, and then I'm like, oh shit, where am I? Like I'm at fucking work, like uh then it like then that's just like, oh, shut this down. I think I'm not sure. I'm honestly, like, looking back at it, I'm not sure how much I felt it or not, but like that happens. Like, I don't know if you call it like I'm sensitive to the environment. Obviously, like that's thoughts. Like it's thoughts about work or beliefs about work or like the environment that I'm in.
Yeah.
Um, like I remember something whenever I first started my like working professionally, I'm on the phone all the time. I was really embarrassed at the beginning to take phone calls. Like to have phone conversations where other people could hear them was really embarrassing. It was really hard for me to do. Um,
Mm.
I would like try to like literally like try to find privacy or like, you know, um, or just delay, until I felt like it was the right moment, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so like those kinds of things come up that interfere with like experiencing that emotion in the present. But sometimes, like when I'm in therapy or like when I was on the call with Lisa, those moments feel safe and I am able to like feel it. And actually, when I do, it feels good. It feels great to let that stuff move through. So,
All right. When you do phone calls at work now, do you have problems talking now?
uh, no, not 98% of the time. No.
So part of that was you were uncomfortable, but then you did it and had to do it repeatedly, and then you got very comfortable with the uncomfortable. And now it's not a big deal 98% of the time. The emotions can be the same way,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is because I had a lot of ideas about how my life should go when I was younger too, and a lot of it I would get right to the cusp of it working out and then it wouldn't. And what I discovered is that in a way, because there's no actual Ryan there as a separate person, it's like our life is not our own in that way. But when you're doing something like when like let's just say the job you work at or the career you have, let's just say you've turned out that you've hated it or you don't want to do it anymore or whatever, it's changed or whatever. Um, Sam's kind of feeling that way now about being a lawyer. He's been a lawyer a long time and he's discovered that he kind of did it because his dad wanted him to, and his dad's a lawyer, and he's kind of discovering now in his authenticity in his 50s that I don't really want this. Um, and we do a lot of things because of the beliefs that we have. And then later, as we work on this stuff, that can change. It can change relationships. It can change work thing, and it may not, but it definitely can because the beliefs change. So therefore, the algorithm changes, especially if you get more into your authenticity and not doing what others want you to do and stuff like that. But when you're doing this, you can really only do two things. You can step into an action that says, "I'm looking for another job." Or what, I'm not saying it's about you, but I'm just using that as an example. I can look for another job, or I can deal with the thoughts and emotions and beliefs that are happening right now, or I can let the thoughts and emotions and beliefs take me over and do mind identification, which is what most people do. But then you're here, so you don't want to do that, and we know you don't want to do that because you're in this group. So you can face that, or you can take it. You can also take an action. But if you can't go anywhere, then it's like you have to deal with your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no That's what I discovered. There's no amount of me saying something about how my life didn't go the way I wanted to that was going to make go the way I wanted it to right now. Now that doesn't mean things can't change, but now life is what it is, you know? And if there's grief there, that's total sense. I had tons of grief about that. And that's where we go back to the beginning of feeling it and not running away or distracting or trying to find, the next video that's going to give you the answer. Or even talking to a friend or a counselor, that's good too, but that's fine. That's another strategy, but it is gonna come back to not repressing the emotion and feeling it and letting it process. Um, and that's the reality of it. That's what it comes back to. But we come back here every week and we talk about the new things and all that stuff, but this is where I talk about the line in the sand with your mind. It's like it can take you, for when you're in a situation, any situation, and it happens moments, all kinds of moments of the day, which is why you can practice any time of the day at any moment. Because when you're looking at your thoughts and beliefs, every time you look, you're either weakening them by seeing through them or you're reinforcing them by believing the thoughts. You're doing one or the other at all times of the day, and you can always look and see which is happening. And sort of like every time you look, let's just say judgment thoughts. When that happens in your experience, when you look at the judgment thoughts, you can either weaken them by seeing them for what they are, or you can reinforce them by believing them. Same with doubt thoughts, same with anything. So when we suffer enough, then that line in the sand is drawn right there, and we can see how believing those thoughts is tearing us up, and it's reinforcing the sense of self. But seeing them clearly as they come, and then letting the emotion come and processing it, and not getting drawn in. Every time we do that, it weakens it just a little bit. So when you see that, what I'm saying right there, super clear, this insane motivation to look and not be pulled in will arise. if you get the point that I'm making right there real clear, when you really see the suffering that a judgment thought does to you and what it does to your system, then you're going to catch it because it's very important to you. You know what I mean? It's like it becomes super important once you've seen what kind of suffering it causes. Before we're like, we kind of believe we're that. We believe that we're that thought totally. That's total mind identification. So then we just get swept up. And then later, we'll look back at it and be like, oh, I wish I didn't think that way, or I wish I didn't act that way, or whatever it is. So the closer you get to watching and seeing this thing in action, this trick that's being played over and over again in action as it's happening, you start to weaken it. And I'm seeing that with everybody in this group who's been in there, who's participating in that. I'm seeing by the things they say that they're starting to weaken it. And so that's why I keep repeating all the stuff about judgment thoughts and doubt thoughts, because those are the thing that puts us in victimization or in time or in doubt. So if you see that real clearly in a moment of it happening, and you see that very clearly, you're going to feel this swell of energetic. You're going to feel it. It's going to be like, oh, this is what it's doing. And people don't see that for a long time, actually. They go, yeah, but there's a lot of yeah buts, or also this, or yeah, I need to do it. It's a lot of negotiating. But once you get to the point where you see that reality doesn't negotiate, it is set up in a certain way, not for good or for bad, it's perfect. The way it's set up is what is put into the system and what is believed with attention is what is spit out. And it doesn't change. That it does not, it's the way it's set up. So it's like I had to get to a point where I saw that very clearly. And then I had this extreme motivation naturally arise in me. I didn't have to do anything. It just came from seeing that process. And then that's what made me draw a line in the sand and say, I have to see this as much as possible ruthlessly in action. It's like you can't, that's why in this path, it's like this path, you can't just do it whenever. You know what I mean? It has to become, for me, it was the most important thing in my life all the time, all day. And I'm not saying it's not for you. I'm just talking generalities. I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm saying that's what I saw. And that's what I noticed about working with the mind. And that inflection point, that 0 point is right here. And that's what you actually are. All the rest of the stuff, your raw sensations of life, and then the rest is overlay of interpretation and meaning that beliefs give to the moment. So if you believe you're not where you want it to be, that is a thought, a Ryan thought, believing something about the past of I should have been this or I should be here already. You know what I mean? And that's when I also talk about perspective a lot because there is perspective about, um, you know, some people die when they're 10 years old. They don't even get to live to a certain place, and what we can get the sense of self can either make us feel special or it can make us feel small, it can make us feel worthless. And those are all thoughts and beliefs based on conditioning. But when you realize that every time you follow a thought, you're reinforcing it versus seeing it clearly, then you're weakening it. And you really see that, you're going to want to weaken it all the time, which is really going to there's really going to be an upswell of motivation in your immediate experience to see those things. And until that happens, some people just suffer repeatedly until they're tired of it enough to look and see. And I suffered immensely from, let's say, 17 to 38 because I refused to see that formula. I tried to wrestle it to the ground. I tried to defeat it with logic. I asked God why he forsaken me. I blamed myself. I blamed the world. I was, and it just didn't matter. The first interview I did with Angelo, I said, I could never be pissed off enough or be enough of a victim that reality would go, okay, I'll give you what you want now. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way. And you can beat your head up against the wall like I did for years, and then not, and that's what I try to get people to do here is not do that because I did that and it's extremely painful. So the way I talk about this stuff, I try to talk about it in this grounded way that's very direct and very pointed at this because that is the crux of it. You can sit, you can practice for 14 hours a day and everything, but if you miss that part of it, you're going to be practicing with your mind 14 hours a day and not actually looking at what's happening. You know what I mean? You understand all that? That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I You're speaking the truth. I can feel that.
But see, well, I talk about this that direct, right? But to me, if I sugarcoated that, that's not loving. The most loving thing I can do is to say what I went through and how I see how reality works, so people can suffer less quickly and see through stuff quicker. If I made up a bunch of stuff about love and all this other stuff, then I don't feel like I'm doing people the disservice. I mean, some teachers I'm sure take people's money and they keep them coming to retreats forever and ever and ever, and they don't. To me, it's like I don't want to do that because I wasted pretty much in one version. I wasted in the story all these years of my life seeking and blaming God and being a victim. You know, nobody on the outside knew I was a victim, but internally I was a victim. You know, and everybody in this group has different versions of that. Some people have doubts are their main problem. Some people are victims. Some people just have, every algorithm is subject to the beliefs of the algorithm, and that's subject to from the conditioning that made the algorithm what it is. So when you have something like shame come up in a meeting and that felt, and obviously if you're talking to your boss in front of him, that might not be the time you can work on it. But you can develop the cognitive awareness to be talking to someone face to face and literally keep the conversation going and still notice the emotion and still notice the energetic signature and the sensations as you're talking. You can develop that skill from doing this type of practice, but it won't happen at the beginning. But the galvanization of that will that I was talking about, when you see that very clearly, will allow you to find the gap at the beginning before you start going into the thought loops and spirals like you did, which sent you off in the seeking land, hoping for an answer. The mind was hoping for an answer of the next Frank Yang video that he says something, whatever, and then it solves all my problems and I won't ever have this feeling of shame again. The shame has to be experienced because the shame is enlightenment. It is reality showing up in that moment. And anytime from here till the end of your life, if you reject that, you're rejecting reality. And it doesn't want to be rejected. It wants compassion and it wants to be a part of your world. It wants you to see that you are that. So catching that and then distracting is saying, I don't want you. You're not welcome here. So you have to give it that compassion. You have to learn how to get below, you know, the repressed emotions. You have to unrepress them by seeing them and letting them be there. And it's never a doing, it's a seeing and feeling. It's always that. There's no strategy to feeling an emotion. It's just openness and compassion and letting it be what it is.
Ooh,
That makes sense.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know exactly how you feel. People talk to me now. I don't. I say this story repeatedly, and I don't think people understand. I, what you're talking about, I did that to myself for 20 years, brutally. Like I almost killed myself several times because of how brutal it was. But I think because of that first seeing that I saw, there was like some sort of invincible summer in there that would not let me do it because I knew something was different, but I was still believing the thoughts. At the same time, knowing I was presence, I was still believing the thoughts about reality. So it felt like an entity or a possession or something against me. Like I was in a witness state, disassociated, and this thing was coming at me all the time. But when I started to see what it was made of, it got real weak. Once I got good pointing from David, the first mentor I had, and then later Angelo, once I got good pointing, it was off to the races. But I also had to, the good pointing is great, but I also, in my own direct experience, had to be like, this is what I'm fucking doing. You're not, you're not taking me. I'm going to see this. I'll see it if it kills me. I'll see it a million times till my death. And that's the way it is. And that galvanization is presence. It's very present. And it's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. And when I mean, both David and Angelo came to me and found me. I didn't find them. I didn't ask them. They showed up when I needed them. It was weird. It was very weird. Both times how they became my mentors was very strange circumstances. But yeah, I mean, I just don't want to bullshit people. That's what it takes, though. You know, I just don't. That's just what I think it takes.
Yeah. I I really appreciate that. There's um somebody's got to call me out of my bullshit.
I'm trying not to be too direct with people, but I also can't help it in a way because I'm 49 years old and went through all this stuff. I'm like, there's no time. There's no time to not be galvanized, to look at your processes, to deconstruct them, to live a better life, to see through this stuff that's making you suffer. There is no time. So every moment that it comes up for me is practice. Do you need to sit and inquire? Do you need to pick a time for inquiry for an hour? Maybe. I did that. I did everything in the fucking book, man. I meditated for 2 hours a day for 12 years. And you know what? The entire time I meditated, it was Tony sitting down to meditate and is going to get something out of it. So did I waste that time or did I wear myself out to get to the place where I could actually start to look? I'm trying to get you to the place where you can quit doing all that shit and see now. Because there's nothing out there in the future that's going to solve this. It gets solved right now by feeling that emotion, by letting it in, doing the parts work, whatever helps you. Talking to Lisa, talking to me. But no matter who you talk to, in your direct experience, living your life in the moment, you have to see that ownership and you have to see that, and you see it, you're weakening it. And when you start to weaken it, some of the people I talk to, they start to weaken it. Yeah, it comes back, but it's a little bit weaker. You know what? It didn't catch me quite as bad. And then when you start to really see that and really look at it, you feel, oh man, I got a foothold on this. It's not just dragging me off really fast now. Now I see it and then it drags me off. Now I see it and it doesn't drag me off as much. Or now I see it and it does, but I can keep part of my attention here. Now I see it. Now I keep 75% of my attention here. And the more you keep your attention here, the better your chance of seeing through the whole thing, that there is no separate person. But if you reject the emotions, you'll never see it. I mean, you might have a first awakening, but you're still going to have to deal with the emotions right after that. You'll have to deal with them after the first awakening. That reality has to be dealt with in whatever form that takes and whenever it takes, even if it's on your deathbed, it will have to be dealt with. I'd rather you deal with it now so you can not let it control your life.
Same.
Yeah. Anything
Thank
else
you.
to say about that? Do you think you have a problem with your emotions? Like you don't want to feel them?
Um, well, I guess it's context dependent. I'd say like that situation at work, like or certain times it's like when I'm around other people, like it where like the process gets tripped up. But I've noticed like in therapy that it feels great actually. Like I really like whenever it's nice actually to like do some work and find some emotion through that process and then just let it be, let it express and let it go through.
When
Feels
you're
really
in
good and it's
therapy, when you're in
energizing.
therapy and the emotion comes up, what do you do? Get more detailed about that part of it. When you say express and process, it goes through. What are you doing in that moment?
Really just fully present with it.
Mhm. Because I think 90% of an emotion is thoughts, and 10% is the actual sensation. So I just want to make sure you're reacting to the sensation. You're processing the actual sensation and not thoughts about it.
Yeah, I think so. It feels I feel it in my body
That's
for
good.
sure.
I'm not saying you're not. I'm just
Yeah.
checking with you. I'm just checking.
Yeah, I think so. Like it feels
Okay.
very physical. Like I feel it like throughout my whole body, really. Feels like it's moving through me whenever it comes up.
So when it moves through, does it at the end, do you feel it like leave? Do you feel it disappear?
It's kind of like a wave. Like
Mhm.
it builds up and then it's like I don't know, maybe has some sort of maximum intensity and
Yeah.
then it fades away.
Okay. That's good. Just don't let it fade away with thought or distraction. Let it do its
Yeah,
thing.
I've seen that happen too. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, good. You know the difference then.
yeah.
So from
Sometimes
now on, so
I
from now
wasn't
on,
sure.
you won't run from the emotions to Frank Yang bodybuilding videos. You'll stay right there with it and feel it. You done told me not to do it now. Now I won't accept any excuses why you didn't do
Okay. Yeah.
it.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.